Yugitashi asks, do you feel that Resident Evil 4 is the most overrated in the series? Many people I've run into claim that to be a fan of the series, however they've only played that particular game, and some of them have the nerve to diss the other games, probably because they aren't action-packed as 4 is.
Dissing Resident Evil? What's wrong with you people? This is to all the fucking noobs who diss on the older games because they're not as good as Resident Evil 4. You fuckwads, do not fuck with this. Or this. Or this. Or this. Or this. Or this. Let me tell you why, you little fucking noobs. Because your precious Resident Evil 4 would not exist if it weren't for the success of what came before it. You see, what you're looking at here is 10 fucking years of Resident Evil greatness. So don't you ever insult Resident Evil, the older games, in my presence, because that shit just ain't gonna fly. Oh no. So to answer the original question, do I feel that Resident Evil 4 is the most overrated in the series? Why no. I mean, after all, I own 3 copies of the game. What more can I say?
JPrime777 asks, if you're a fan of the Mega Man series, what's your opinion on how the series has evolved since the NES era?
Well, to sum it all up, it went up, and then it got stale, and then it went down. And see, we saw that in the NES era. You see, you had Mega Man 1, which came out, and it wasn't popular at all. At least I don't know anybody who had it or played it. And then Mega Man 2 came out, which was a huge improvement over the first one. And that game was a shit. I mean, everybody had it, everybody played it. It pinnacled at Mega Man 3, and then from then on it just got stale. It's the same stuff over and over again. And then Super Nintendo comes out, and then they release Mega Man X, which was the shit. It sort of revived the Mega Man series. And then X2 and X3 came out with some decent improvements. And then X4 came out, and it was just, by then it was just stale. It was the same stuff over and over again. The cycle repeated itself. We saw a repeat of what happened during the NES era. And then they transitioned to 3D sometime after X4, and I haven't played any of the 3D X series games, so I really can't comment on it. But from what I've heard, it hasn't turned out that well. Mega Man just wasn't a good 3D game. However, I did play Mega Man Legends, which was 3D. And I thought that was a pretty decent game. So if you get a chance to play it, I definitely check it out. And one more point I'd like to make is that, you know, a few months ago I picked up the Mega Man X collection, which has Mega Man X 2 all the way to 7. And, you know, I like Mega Man X 2 and 3. So, it's the best 20 bucks I've ever spent.
MacDragard asks, have you ever played Gyromite with Rob before?
Actually, no. I have never played Gyromite on the NES with Rob, and to be honest, I only knew one person who had Rob, and he never played with it. So the answer is no. But if I get a chance, yeah, I'll check it out.
Edryman2 asks, oftentimes, if I go back to a game I really enjoyed as a kid, I discover the game was actually a lot more difficult or bad than I had remembered. Have you ever experienced this phenomenon? And if so, for what games?
Yes and no. As for games being harder, no. I'm a much better gamer now than I was back when I was a kid. As for bad, well, yes, I have experienced this phenomenon, and I have a whole series dedicated to this phenomenon. It's called Mourning the Death of a Game. It's where I talk about games that I used to like as a kid but grew up to hate. Fester's Quest is, of course, the only game in that series as of now, but to mention some other games, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Spy Hunter, Athena, And of course, some of those aforementioned games will be reviewed in that series. So that, yes, I have experienced that phenomenon.
KingOfHalla asks, what is your favorite Zelda game?
Ocarina of Time. Can't go wrong with that game. Awesome music, awesome gameplay, lots to do. Just overall awesomeness.
Soldier993 asks, what is your favorite MGS game?
Why, that would be Metal Gear Solid 1 for the PSX. You know, I like 2 and 3, but they just didn't have the same impact as the first one. And I think a lot of what has to do with that is just the fact that, you know, this introduced me to everything. You know, when I played this, it was fresh. When I played Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, you know, you pretty much knew what was going on. Well, you know, in 3, you know, you play as someone else. You know, there's no Metal Gear. But, you know, it's the same concept. So, this had the largest impact, therefore this is my favorite Metal Gear Solid game.
Crisis Done asks, what are your top 5 games for the NES?
Top 5 NES games. That would be Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario Bros. 2, Contra, Zelda 1, and Metroid.
Adamus King asks, have you ever used the NES Power Glove?
Actually, yes, I have used the Power Glove. I remember getting that thing for Christmas and thinking, oh, it's going to be awesome, and then trying it out and realizing it's a complete piece of shit, such that I never went back to it. And in fact, I want to show you something. Okay, you see that Velcro patch on the TV? That's the Velcro anchor for the Power Glove sensors. Yes, I still use the TV I had when I was a kid. Yes, it's 20 years old. When I pay off my school loans, I will buy a new HD TV. So lay off! So yeah, I have used the Power Glove and it sucks.
Blood Runs Clear asks, would you say that hip trends of exploitation torture are starting to creep into video games? The industry is unfortunately giving Jack Thompson more ammo, ironically.
I'm not real sure what you mean by torture exploitation. In a literal sense, I haven't seen any. I've seen other forms of exploitation like shock exploitation, sexploitation, hardcore violence, and other controversial themes. I think the biggest example that I own would be Manhunt 2, which I guess if you stretch it, you can call it a torture exploitation game, but I would call it more of a hardcore violence exploitation more than anything. And really, I don't see exploitation in video games as an industry-wide trend, but rather a few isolated incidents. And I'm not sure if that answers your question, but really that's all I have to say about that.
Costi8888 asks, what do you think of video games based on The Simpsons?
I played 3 Simpsons games in my day, and the first one was the Simpsons arcade game, which I thought was awesome. The second one was one on the NES. I don't remember the name of it, but it was one where you can go around and spray paint things a different color. You know, didn't think anything of that game, though I heard it sucks now. And the last one was Krusty's Super Fun House for the Super Nintendo, and I hated it. That'll do it for this Q&A. I enjoyed answering your questions, and if you have a question, just PM me or type them in the comments, and I look forward to answering your questions in the future. Until next time, thanks for watching.